readers, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. And today we're going to be talking about The Book of V by Anna Solomon. And this was another one of those sort of picked up on a whim type of books, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't entirely what I thought it was going to be, but I still enjoyed the ride, and I enjoyed where we ended up once the book was over. Now, I feel like this book might be a little complicated to talk about, so I don't know how much detail I'm going to get into. But this book is told in a format that I really love. One of my favorite books that I thought about frequently while reading this one, I was so happy to see when I got to the end in the acknowledgements, she mentions that book as well, and that is The Hours by Michael Cunningham. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And I love the way the story is told from 3 different perspectives. We go back and forth from perspectives and time periods, and then once we reach the end, we fully see how similar these stories are and the ways that they weave together. And it's fun to get to piece it all together. And this book does the similar sort of thing. Entirely different story, of course, but the same format, and I really enjoyed that. So, this book is about 3 different women. First, we have Lily. She is in the present. I think it's technically 2016, but you know, present day. She lives in New York, and she has 2 kids and a husband. She's at a point in her life where she's really trying to figure out what she wants the rest of her life to be. Her mother is sick and dying, and we get to watch Lily spend the last few days of her mother's life with her. And so that's who the book starts off with, Lily and her children, and they're reading a book about a Bible character. Next up is V, and she is in the early to mid 1970s. And she's this gorgeous woman who is married to, I believe he's a senator, and he's a very specific sort of man, and he's very controlling, and we get the feeling right off the bat that the relationship is a little weird, a little different, a little twisted maybe, a little dark, and we meet them, and it's a party. There's going to be a party that night. And things go sideways at the party, like really sideways at the party, and she ends up kind of getting banished away from her home. The public is told she's gone to a mental hospital, but in truth, her husband's like assistant or right-hand man, whatever he is, he tells her, you know what, you can kind of go wherever you want. You just can't stay here for right now. So she goes to spend a bit of time with her childhood best friend. So that's the second story. The third storyline we actually get from 2 different women, and this takes place during biblical times. And one is a woman named Esther, and when we meet her, she's very young, very beautiful. Her uncle is kind of selling her to the king of Persia to get to be potentially one of the women that he admires and chooses from to become his new queen. The second sort of point of view that we get is, I don't really want to say because that'll kind of spoil a little bit about that timeline, but it's someone else from that timeline that when we first meet Esther, we think that person is not around any longer. Which is a bit confusing, I know, but I don't want to spoil that part. And as we learn about Esther and the king, there's a bit of magical realism here that goes into this storyline, which I always love. And we also learn that this woman Esther, that's who at the beginning, when Lily is reading to her children the story, it's the story of Esther, the Queen of Persia. And it's just, I found that very interesting. And so Lily's children are putting on a play about this time because Lily and her family are Jewish. And so, again, I don't know anything about the history of Esther of Persia or that Bible story or anything like that. I'm not familiar with it. So I went into this just kind of blind, not knowing anything about that story, and I don't even know that I came away knowing anything more about it, aside from, well, I mean, obviously I did. I learned what happened with Esther and the queen before her, but it was just like, I still don't know the Bible story. Anyway, I really loved this. Now, I'm going to say that if you don't want any spoilers, because now in a minute I'm going to sort of piece it all together for you and show you how the stories all weave together. So, of course, I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. So if you want to read this yourself and you don't want any spoilers, now is the time to click away. I would definitely, recommend this. Anna Solomon is a fantastic writer. I'm just trying to see if this is her first novel. No, she has other novels out. Leaving Lucy Pear, The Little Bride. I'll definitely be looking into reading more from her though. But yeah, would definitely recommend. Anna Solomon is a fantastic writer. The prose was beautiful. The way the stories weave together, beautiful. I loved the sort of homage to The Hours, which again, one of my all-time favorite books. And I will say it's a little slow-paced, which of course isn't an insult. You know, some books you just fly through, some you don't. And for me, this was one of those you don't books. I'd find myself reading a chapter, maybe two, and then putting it down for the rest of the day. And then, you know, I'd look forward to picking it up the next day, but it wasn't one of those ones I couldn't put down. And again, I say this book's kind of complicated to talk about because it's not really plot driven. Again, it's more character driven. So that sometimes makes it a little trickier to talk about in a standalone review like this. So would recommend, and click away if you don't want the spoilers. So here's how we find out towards the end that all the storylines are intertwined. So we have Lily in the present day, more or less, and her mom is dying, as I mentioned. And we later find out that V, the woman from the story in the 70s, who was sort of banished from her home and decided to go and stay with her childhood friend, Rosemary. Rosemary is Lily's mom. And so V comes into Lily's life after she hears that Rosemary has passed away. And we don't really see that coming too much because we learn that Rosemary later in her life switched to Judaism. And so when she did, she changed her name from Rosemary to Ruth. So when we're with Lily, we know her mother is Ruth. And then when V comes to Lily later to talk about her mother, we learn that Ruth and Rosemary are the same person. And I just really loved that realization. That it's at that moment that it all clicks together and you're like, yes, this is one comprehensive story, which you always know. That's always in the back of your mind, but I didn't know how it was going to happen in this. So I loved when it happened like that. And then Esther, as we know, her story's brought in because the girls are learning about her and doing a play about her. And then when you look at it all with a more broad lens, you see that all three of these women's stories are not that different. You know, it's all about the things, the struggles, the choices, the decisions that we make, the decisions we make, the choices we have as women. And no matter, you know, if that's biblical times, if that's 1974, if that's 2016, it's all very similar, even though the world around us may be different. At our essence, it's all the same. And I enjoyed that aspect of this story. And again, Anna Solomon, fantastic writer. And I guess since we're in the spoiler section here, I'll let you know when I said in the biblical story line, it's about Esther and then another woman. So that other woman is a woman, I'm probably going to say this right, but I think it's like Vashti. And she was the previous Queen of Persia, who we all believe to be dead when we first meet Esther, because of course the king is looking for a new queen, so we assume and are told that she's dead, but we later go on to find out that she is not dead. She's more hidden away down in the basement where she's slowly losing her mind. And that's a very interesting, when the story switches from Esther to Vashti, I found that to be very interesting, and I liked Vashti a lot. So there you go, you guys. Those are my thoughts on the Book of V. Whoops, Trixie's just strolling around and I keep hitting her with my toes. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I feel like it's been a while since I made a video, which, I mean, it hasn't been that long. I think I put up the latest chapter of Emily of New Moon this past Sunday, and then I didn't get a vlog up Monday. I didn't get a video up Wednesday. I didn't get another chapter of Emily of New Moon, just because I needed a few days to just not think about YouTube videos. And then today's Thursday as I'm filming this, I was like, okay, I'm ready to jump back in it, talk about this book, keep moving on. So you will get, hopefully, fingers crossed, 2 chapters of Emily of New Moon this weekend and a vlog on Monday. And I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you real soon. Bye, guys.